Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Petra Metsala, and I am the head of managing authority in Finland. And I'm here to talk about how we try to prevent fraud and double funding in our program. So first, we see this is the levels of structural funds administration in Finland. On top, you see European Commission, and then managing authority, and we have intermediate bodies. We have lots of them. And then, of course, beneficiaries. In Finland, we have only one program for structural funds. It includes all ERDF, ESF Plus, and JTF funding. So they are all in one program, and we have only one managing authority. And as managing authority, we have delegated most our tasks to the intermediate bodies you see in the picture. So we have 19 intermediate bodies in Finland, and that causes, of course, 19 different strategies, and we have lots of regional differences, which causes, of course, different problems. Not so much probably in preventing fraud. In general, as you heard from previous speech very well, there is a culturally very strict opinion about fraud and double funding. And we have very good journalism. We also have gotten some cases from journalists about what we should do. So we are very thankful for the journalists for bringing up sometimes these problems. But of course, we try to do our best, what we can, to prevent. So we don't fund those projects that are too risky when it comes to double funding or fraud. So how we do that, how we manage that. We have this very up-to-date IT system, which is extremely linked to different registrations we have in Finland, registers, and our IT system is totally and fully electronic. So everything has to be in the system and inputted in the system. So nothing can be done outside the system. That is law-based. And this is what we as managing authority provide our intermediate bodies. We provide the system, and we provide, of course, the support for the system. But when it comes to the actual lots of checklists, the intermediate bodies do that. And as I told you that the system is totally electronic, there is also, because when you look at, there is the official who is doing the funding decision. So for the funding decision is the most critical part of our work when it comes to fraud detection and prevention. That is the point where you have to have the ability to check that the probable beneficiary is in well enough shape to be able to go and do the project. And that way we prevent all the problems with it. So because of that, we have the good communications in the IT system. So we get loads of things when you get the identity number of a company or whatever there is who is looking for funding, the system automatically orders things with that number. So it sends requests and you get all the information that comes straight back from different registers. So we get, if they have any tax debt. We have that. We have that they are in all the needed registration. They have registered themselves well. And in some cases, we even get the more also. There is lots of a lot of different information about the possible beneficiary. So of course, when someone who goes there and starts to look at the application, that person gets all the information there, so they don't have to start looking for it to start with. So they have lots of information, and then they can go deeper if needed, and then certain things they of course check. So this is the system. As I told you, we have 19 different intermediate bodies. 5 of them are state officials and 14 are regional councils. And these are the tasks that we have delegated to them. So selection of projects, grant decision on payments of grants, and loads of other things. So we are kind of, we don't do those things ourselves. So we mainly control and monitor that everything is happening well on the regions where the actual funding happens. So also the detection and prevention is on the intermediate body side. So how do they do that? Well, they have their own networks where they can ask about, especially double funding, which is probably one of the biggest problems to look for. How do you find out that the whatever the project is, it's not double funded from some other fund or from some other source of different funding or things like that from another region? They have their own networks where they try to, and also our system, they can look. We have very good database about projects that have been funded, so they can check if the same beneficiary has been granted and what they've been granted money before. So they can go and check all those. And that way they can check that, okay, you've just done a very, very, very similar project like last year or 2 years ago. So these are easy ones. But then the biggest is if they get from Interreg funding, because those are in different database. But for that, they need the network. So the network usually knows. And as we heard from the previous speaker, Finnish is a very small country. Finland is very small. And the regional areas are even smaller. So there is a big risk that you know someone who knows someone who knows against someone. So, of course, the small circles are good in a way that people know each other. But then there is the other part. As there is always in life, you get the pros and cons. But luckily, we do have the good journalism. We have there are loads of local small newspapers, especially in the Finnish countryside, that like to write about these things. They write a lot about what's been funded in the area, who's getting and how much money they're getting, especially how much money they're getting, and what they are doing with the money. So that helps. Also, that there are articles, there is writing about it. And of course, if there is something happens and there's something to be found, then of course the journalists are just happy to find something interesting and they will write about it immediately. So that way we get also that information for ourselves. But when it comes to the Euro system, what our intermediate bodies have to do, there are checklists for them. They have to not just say, is there chance for double funding? And then they answer either yes or no. So they answer no, but then that's not good enough for us. We want them to always write where, how and when they have checked and what they have checked. For each question, they have to give reasoning to, yes, this is how I can say that answer that I'm giving you is correct. So main focus is in the application phase, as I told. After that, of course, and what's extremely important also in the application phase is risk. We have to consider the risk of the project. So this is only one part of the risk evaluation, but the risk evaluation is a critical thing because we have two types of, we have either normal risk or we have high risk. And of course, those that have high risk, they are checked more regularly when it comes to paying the grant. So when there is a high risk project, they are not impossible to fund. They just have to be monitored more carefully than the normal risk ones. And this is something that is our responsibility in a way. So our role, what does MA do? What does managing authority do? Our main task is, of course, to ensure implementation and to have like the whole Finland, to look at the whole Finland and see that, yes, everything that we have funded is funded rightfully according to EU norms and whatever that comes from Commission saying that how we have to manage the funds. But when it comes to fraud detection, we also get other information and other notes that we have to obey. So usually we just give the information to the intermediate bodies that this is how you have to do. But as one of these, we do a lot of training. We had a 3.5-day training, just finished it this March, about especially fraud and double funding and conflict of interest, which was, we had lots of different speakers there from all over. So we had police, also from, we had some researchers and also our own staff as well. And we got a lot of credit from the intermediate bodies for the training. They said it was extremely interesting and very good, and it was well constructed. And that's one of our trainings that we did that is permanently, the videos are permanently on our database. Not everything is, but these ones are because we think it's extremely important. And that online training was based on the financial regulations that was just changed. And after that, we have given more instructions and more kind of letters and obligations for the intermediate bodies, how they have to do in the future. And also, yes, we have the data bank for everything. We actually just transformed it from one platform to another, to a more modern platform. So it's easier to search for certain information and letters, decisions, training material by Word. Previous one was not very easy to use. So now we're lucky to have a more modern base for the data bank. And that also has lots of material for the intermediate bodies. That is mainly but in overall, I think that our intermediate bodies in overall, they are pretty well aware of the awareness of fraud and double funding. They do consider lots. And they have, as I said, they have their own networks where they share information, and that helps. And these can be pretty much prevented in advance, and that's why we haven't had that many journalists coming to my door asking about cases. Luckily, at least now, we'll see how this goes. I think the biggest risk we have is double funding the salaries in the developmental research projects because of the anonymizing of in the Jura system. So we don't have people's names who are working for the project. So that's one of the biggest issues we have, but we're dealing with that, and we see how that goes. But other than that, I think there are some data sources that are us and our intermediate bodies use. So we have, as you can see, there are lots of, these are all open source databases that you can check from in Finland, loads of different things. We still haven't been joining Arachne, but I believe that it may not be that long that we are. So I just told that we're gonna start this next year, thinking that how we're gonna get, especially that we get the information in there so that when the next programming period, we will have it forced. We have to join there. So I said that we need to have some database to start with. So we can have some advantages from Arachne starting 2028. But this was my presentation. It didn't take that long. I was told 15 minutes. So, so thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Petra. Are there any questions on the audience side? Not, I have a question. I would like to ask, because I have this always this suspicion that in the local and regional level in Finland, people don't always recognize the conflict of interest. And how do you work on this issue that made it clear that it's not fine to be a project applicant at the same time if you are also at the selection committee, and this kind of conflict of interest, and okay, there is trust, of course, but could you tell us a little bit, how do you control the conflict of interest in different levels of administration? Thank you.
Sure. To start with, yes, this was one of our key messages when we did the 3-time training for our intermediate bodies, so that the first part was only about what does it mean that you might have a conflict of interest. What can it be? The different aspects of it. And we had this one lecturer from the university, and she was really good. She made really good points, and she made it very clear for the audience about especially in the small regional areas where people do know each other really well, and that how does it look and how this can be seen, and when there is a conflict of interest. As managing authority, of course, we cannot go and check all the 4,000 projects more than 4,000 projects that have been funded in whole Finland. Of course, we have no chance to go and check every person who is doing the funding process, how they've been linked. That's impossible. So we try to do it by training. That's our main goal, to train the people to see. And then, of course, now we've had this conflict of interest kind of, they have to inform, they have to fill out this form of what are their links, how they're linked to different places. Of course, it's not there if you play golf. If I play golf with Tony, I don't play golf though, but if we play golf together, of course, that's not there. But everything you cannot control, that's impossible. So something you have to have, and you have to trust people to understand where there is the possibility of conflict of interest. But as Tony said, the regions are very small, and I said it's well, we'll see how it goes next period, the next period, but that will be then.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Petra.